Real quick from Daniel, and a couple of people ask this. Can you very quickly give us a quick explanation as to what the difference is between Oracle decks and Tarot decks?
Yes. So Tarot is an actual system. If you were to purchase any Tarot deck, you're going to have the suit of cups, which sometimes is known as vessels, but there's still going to be the suit of cups, the suit which is associated with water, the suit of wands, which is associated with air, the suit of swords, which is associated, wait, I said that wrong, wands, which is fire, swords, which is air, and pentacles or coins, which is earth. And so there are these four elements: earth, air, fire, water. So we have four different minor arcana cards. This is confusing, so I think I'll give you an even briefer summary. There is a very clear system with the Tarot. It involves 78 cards, and there is a major arcana and a minor arcana. And it's easiest just to think of them as like the nouns and the adjectives. So you've got the big players, which is the major arcana, and the minor arcana, which is like all the adjectives that pair with those major arcanas. An oracle deck can be anything. That is the artist-based deck. And so if they were a fan of wolves, and I created the Oracle of the Wolves, and I had 24 cards that had a wolf that represented strength, a wolf that represented fear, a wolf that represented conquest, a wolf that represented death and the cycle of life. So those cards don't follow necessarily a very certain tradition. They're more concepts, their themes in life, their feelings, emotions. Sometimes, like this Oracle deck, it's just very picture based. Sometimes you'll have a card that just has a single word, courage. And so how I am suggesting that it pairs well is, let's say we're in a reading, and here's this card that you've drawn in a certain position. Let's say that it's future. We've got this card of travel, the Chariot. And I'm looking at this going, gosh, I want to travel, but I just am afraid. I'm not sure where I want to go. I've never traveled alone. I'm not sure where I should even go or what to do. And I pull this card, and what's pairing this card, this is an oracle deck, which is inspiration. And so this card is now placed on this, and I'm looking at, well, gosh, I need something that's going to be inspirational travel. Maybe that's a first clue for me to go down this path of what's going to be very inspiring, what's going to create this lesson in my travels. Maybe if instead of me just looking at a cruise to Mexico, maybe I want to take a more spiritually based inspirational trip, and that may get me out of my fear around traveling alone. So it's just a different way of pairing two different types of decks. And because often you find that an artist creates a tarot deck and an oracle deck, they match, so to speak. And so sometimes it's fun just to have that difference. If you've got a friend that's already so familiar with the tarot and is used to working with it, sometimes it's fun just to have that extra layer to enhance your readings and give more depth to the querent.
That was a wonderful answer, Marin. Yes, on the difference between oracle decks and tarot decks. Now, next question that is about the lesson kind of you discussed today. A little bit more just kind of about yourself, Marin. Honeybee is wanting to just to know, she's mentioned that she loves kind of seeing your readings, loves coming to these lives as well. She also just really wants to know, what is kind of the deck that you like to use on your calls on California Psychics? Because obviously, you know, on the live, it could be different than whenever you're actually on the line, giving answers, taking questions from our audience members like here, and just trying to give them the insight that they really need. So is there a favorite deck from you?
Well, even though I am what I consider a tarot scholar, and I teach the Tarot Thursday lessons, I usually start off my readings with no tools. And I find that a lot of the callers, they don't speak tarot language. So if I'm doing a reading and, oh my gosh, you've got the Page of Swords paired with the Queen of Wands, and wow, look out because the Four of Pentacles, if you don't speak that language, you're going to have no clue what I'm talking about. And so sometimes I have a caller that calls that very specifically will say, I want a tarot reading, or can you pull a few cards for me? But my normal process and routine is I start to connect with a caller, and I'm always remotely viewing first to get images. And I always have my deck next to me. And sometimes my guides direct me to pull a card, but that is few. In few of the readings, I'm actually working with the tarot. I'm primarily no tools, but if I am working with the tarot deck, my most favorite cherished deck is the Illuminated Tarot. And if you look closely, you can see the sparkles. I have 5 of these decks. These were hand painted by an artist. And earlier today, when I demoed this little tiny tarot, my pocket tarot, this is another version of the exact same artist and same deck, but in a tiny deck. And you can see, gosh, let me grab a card. These little tiny cards are all hand painted. And so I prefer the energy and the uniqueness. These are very sacred to me. So I work with the Illuminated Tarot by Carol Hertzer, and you can, her website is Soul Guidance, but she does sell these decks, and sometimes there's a wait list for them. So if you're a fan of these very colorful, you can do glitter, no glitter, pearlescence. It's a very special deck.
If you could answer super quickly, she just wants to elaborate of how would you shuffle those as well?
Yes, good question. They are oversized. And so, yes, the traditional way of shuffling, I can shuffle them sideways this way because my fingers don't reach long ways, or the good old shuffle in your hands where you shuffle them around like this. Or this deck works best with the mixing method, where you are really mixing them all out right in front of you in a big swirly circle, like you're putting pizza sauce on a pizza kind of feeling is how I'm spreading all the cards around, mixing them. So I'm not really conveniently set up to show that, but you get the idea.
All right. Now we've gone through a couple of questions, and again, really thank you, Honeybee. I see one here from Patty, just kind of also trying to condense some of these questions as well to make sure. Honeybee also saying she really liked the books that you showed off as well, kind of the Tarot Bible and etc. Now this one is from Patty, who has a few different questions. Is there ever a right or wrong way to flip the tarot cards whenever you're pulling? So,
There's not.
And I will say, in following up, she has a couple more questions too. Do you ever use multiple decks at a time? And then my final question, do you ever cross cards with each other, or is that a no-no, she says?
Gosh, all good questions. Okay, so yes, there are many ways you can, I'm going to hold it sideways. So you can place your cards like this, or you can just turn them this way. Obviously, if I do it this way, they're going to be one direction. This way, they're going to be another direction. So the answer is, as long as you are consistent and have a method, it doesn't matter if you pull them this way or if you flip them. Just do it the same way every time. You'll be fine. Pairing 2 decks together, all the time, I do pair 2 decks together, and they don't have to be from the same artist. I could pair the Transparent Tarot with my Rider-Waite-Smith deck and do these readings side by side. I've talked about this before in some of our lessons, that if you love a very vibrant, colorful, artistic deck that's hard to understand as a learning tool, I always encourage that you work alongside with the Rider-Waite deck. So if you pull the Chariot in the reading for the Rider-Waite, quickly find the Chariot reading or Chariot card for your art deck, and then you can learn them side by side. So it's just almost like a mirror of each other. You've got the same spread with this deck, the same spread with the art deck, and that serves as more as a learning tool. But I do pair decks all the time. And then the last question was, do I mix them? I actually, this was, gosh, you're bringing me back 20 years. So that's why I kind of chuckled with your question. But I, at one point in my life, created my own deck where I drew cards from 78 different decks, and I drew one card from every deck of my most favorite cards. So this deck might have had the star card. this deck had my favorite tower card, and I took all the imagery from all these different decks and put it together. So what it looked like was I had this mismatched deck with all these different sizes and all these different shapes, and then I'd mix them all together. But it was like my favorite deck because every single picture and imagery really spoke to me. So that was cumbersome but fun.